This episode of the Gamerheads Podcast is brought to you by Seven Bridges Premium Gourmet Yum Yum Sauce. Enhance every bite with our savory blends of flavors, perfect for meats, vegetables, and crispy treats. Whether you're dipping, drizzling, marinating, grilling, roasting, or snacking, Seven Bridges Yum Yum Sauce takes your culinary experience to the next level. Get yours today and make every meal a gourmet delight.
Hi, I'm Celia Schilling from Yacht Club Games.
Hey, this is James from Megacat Studios.
Hey folks, this is Matt, aka Stormageddon from Reignite and the Fun and Games Podcast.
This is Stephanie from the Boss Rush Podcast and the Boss Rush Network.
Hey, this is Mark and Keon from Bunte Avond.
Hey, this is Sebastian with the ProNerdReport.com and the Single Player Experience Podcast.
Hi, this is Chris.
Mike.
And Garrett from Daylight Basement Studio.
Hey, this is Baron J67 from Level 1 Gaming.
Hi, I'm Jacob McCord from the Left Behind Game Club, Crossplay Conversations, and Video Game Trivia.
Hey, this is Todd Mitchell from Code Right Play.
Salutations, this is Mike Carroll from Stroll Art.
Hey, this is Jeff Moonen from Fun and Games Podcast.
What's good, y'all? This is Adam from Respawn Aimfire.
Hey, this is Patrick from the Backlog Odyssey.
Hey, this is Rune from Runic Codes.
Hi, this is Andrew from Spalato Bros.
Hi, everyone. Jill Grote here from the Indie Informer.
Hello, this is the Crypt Master, and you're listening to Roger You're listening to Roger on the Gamerheads Podcast.
And welcome to another episode of the Gamerheads Podcast. My name is Roger. This week, I have a very special guest, a returning guest. I have Brian Shea on the show with me. He is an editor. What is your role at Game Informer?
I am the executive editor.
Executive editor. And then also the host of All Things Nintendo podcast, which we'll be talking a lot about Nintendo in this episode. So, Brian, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Roger. This is great. I've had fun when I've come on the podcast before, so it's always good to make a return appearance. It means I didn't mess it up too bad when I came on before.
Well, because I didn't mess it up too bad. Although I'm like, I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot his role at Game Informer. Oh my goodness,
strike one. No, I'm just kidding.
Strike one. I know this is softball rules here. You get 2 strikes, I'm out. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule, Brian, and joining me today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is 10 years of the Gamerheads podcast.
Wow, congratulations. That's incredible. I saw some stat back when I first started All Things Nintendo where it was like something like 78%. I mean, that number is completely wrong, but it was like some crazy high number doesn't make it past 20 episodes or something like that, or make it past the first 3 months or whatever it was a very low arbitrary cutoff, but it was an extremely high percentage. So to make it 10 years, I mean, it's got to be in the top 5 percentile or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a long time for sure.
And yeah, I mean, I know what it's like to run a podcast for several years on end and have to churn them out with regularity. That's a huge accomplishment. I hope you're happy and I hope you're proud about that.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I mean, it's interesting to see where we've come in the last 10 years. So we were just talking about this on a previous episode because the Switch was announced when we started our podcast. And then when we first saw the commercials, I was like, this is the end of Nintendo. This is the end. I can't believe it because it just looks silly. And then, yeah, well, what did I know? I mean, but yeah. So, well, Brian, before we get into our show, first I should have people get to know you a little bit. I guess, you've been on the show before, so you can talk a little bit about your history, a little bit about who you are and how you got into Nintendo. And then I do have an icebreaker question for us as well.
Okay.
So,
well, I mean, my first games I ever played were Nintendo. I would go over to my aunt and uncle's house and during family gatherings, and I'd disappear either into the basement or the attic, depending on which aunt and uncle's house it was. Play their NES. One aunt and uncle had Zelda, Bubble Bobble, and Goal 2, which is a soccer game. And the other aunt and uncle had Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt on the single cartridge, and then Tetris. So I had some pretty good on-ramps into the gaming space. And then in 1992, I got my Super Nintendo for Christmas. Nice. And, it was all over for me at that point. I was playing Super Mario World on repeat. I was eventually playing Super Mario Kart. Donkey Kong Country was another big one for me in the SNES era. And then, I just kind of kept up with video games as I got older. I think that at one point my parents were wondering if I was like, at what age was I going to grow out of it? And, jokes on them. But like, I think that it's it's been my number one hobby for a really long time, like for the vast majority of my life. And I started off writing about music back in 2007. I co-founded a music website and started reaching out to bands on MySpace to see if they wanted to do interviews. And a surprising amount and a surprisingly high profile like bands would want to do it. And so started doing that. And then I heard about this game Fallout 3 that got really good reviews back in 2008. And I went to another thing that's going to date me very much. And it's a closing location of Circuit City in my college town. And I got a collector's edition of Fallout 3 because I heard it was so good. And it was like, I think I paid like $28 for the collector's edition. This was right after the game came out. Yeah. And but they were liquidating. So like everything was super steep discounts. And so I got that. I played it obsessively, liked it so much. I tried my hand at writing a game review. And from there, joined a small blog, started writing about music video games for a now defunct kind of content farm. Co-founded my own website in 2010 and then started writing freelance for OXM, Kotaku, IGN in 2013. And then at the very end of 2014, heading into 2015, was hired at Game Informer. So started all things Nintendo in 2021, right around the time of the Switch OLED, and have been doing weekly episodes of that ever since. So I've been kind of keeping my finger on the pulse of Nintendo for 34 years now. And I mean, professionally for about 18 years. So it's been quite the journey, but I think that, outside of maybe a little bit near like the tail end of the Wii era and like maybe like the last year or so of the Wii U era, like my love and adoration and support of Nintendo has really never wavered. But like, those latter Wii days and latter Wii U days were tough sledding.
Yeah, they were. I never had a Wii U. I never got a Wii U.
I got one. I was there for the midnight launch in New York City. That was where I met Reggie for the first time. I was covering the midnight launch in New York. It was a pretty fun night because I also did a show at Sirius XM right before that. So I went in studio, did that, and then walked on over to Rockefeller Plaza to the Nintendo store where Reggie was selling the very first Wii U in North America. And so I got to witness that and then talk to him for a little bit afterwards. And, fast forward, I guess, 9 years, and he was appearing on my podcast, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool. I mean, to plug your podcast, your podcast is one of those podcasts that I have on my rotation of I need to listen to every week because I really love your podcast. I mean, you have really great guests, and not only that, but just like I love how I can't think of a better word to say it, but like how personable you are. Like I don't know how else to say it, but just like how like just genuine you are. I don't know. I just love listening to like your stories and like your memories and like talking about the games and stuff like that. You just do a really wonderful job. So
thank you. Some weeks it's hard. So like, I appreciate the kind words because I don't have to tell you, like you've been doing this podcast for 10 years. Like some of those weeks it's like, man, I don't know what I'm going to talk about this week. Or like, I don't know if I have time to do an episode this week, but you always find time to do it. And it's challenging some weeks, but it's always fun. And it's always exciting to get a new episode out. And I really appreciate everybody who listens to it, yourself included. You support me over on Patreon, and that means a lot to me.
Yeah, of course. Well, thank you for, again, taking time out of your schedule to join me on this podcast. I do have an icebreaker question for you before we jump into Nintendo in 2026. So what's the one Nintendo moment that actually surprised you the most?
Ooh, the most. That's the kicker right there. Because the one that immediately came to mind was the announcement of the original Super Mario Maker.
Oh.
Because I was like, this is like the game of my dreams from my childhood. And it's like, Nintendo is so protective of their IP. I was like, yeah, there's no way they would ever put like actual meaningful creation tools tied to one of their games, like one of their most valuable, most important IP, and they're allowing you to create content within it. Like that was such a wild concept to me.
Yeah.
And it still is like a little bit like, hey, remember when they put out those games that allow you to make your own Mario levels and it was like officially licensed? It wasn't like some weird ROM hack that you downloaded. It was like, it's still crazy to me that Nintendo did that, particularly because of how protective they are. But I mean, that's the first one that came to mind. I think the transition to doing a Nintendo Direct instead of a live E3 press conference back in, what was that, 2012, I want to say, 2011, 2012. That was pretty surprising to me because it just seemed like such a curveball and like completely out of nowhere. And then, you fast forward to this year and like live press conferences are almost non-existent at this point.
Yeah,
it's almost exclusively outside of like Jeff Keighley's stuff. It's almost exclusively like pre-recorded live streams or at the very best, like a live stream. Hey, we're going to be in a studio. It's going to be transmitted or broadcast live, but it's not going to be like an audience or anything like that. So like Nintendo really like blazed a trail in that regard. And I think that like at the time I was like, that's so weird. Like that feels like so anticlimactic to not have a crowd cheering when you have a big announcement. And now it's just the norm.
It's norm. Yeah. It's crazy to think that because everybody does that now. Right. And they all call them in some shape or form, like a direct of some sort. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just
Developer Direct. I mean, PlayStation has their State of Play, but Direct is used a lot because it's become so ubiquitous within gaming culture, right? It's like if you say, "Oh yeah, like Square Enix is holding a Direct," you know exactly what you're talking about, right? Where if you're like, "Oh, Square Enix is holding a State of Play," like not a lot of people in the mainstream anyway are going to know what that means. I guess another thing for me would have been, I mean, this is more of another company, but the first time that Sonic appeared on GameCube, I was just that was like 2002. So like my 15-year-old brain couldn't comprehend that Sonic was available on a Nintendo console after like growing up in the console war era. And then, I mean, I guess when we actually were able to greenlight our Super Mario Brothers Wonder cover story because it's proven challenging because of like various timing aspects and everything to do cover stories with Nintendo. Like we are always we always want to do big stories on Nintendo, but it just doesn't for one reason or another often work out. So when we were able to do something with Super Mario Brothers Wonder and I was able to go do the cover story for that was a super special and extremely exciting thing for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, mine are not as profound as yours. Like
I didn't even think mine were that profound. I was just like, when they did this, it was kind of surprising.
For me, I think the first one I think of is the Wii.
Yeah.
And just how different that controller system was. And I was working at Best Buy at the time, and I could not believe we could not keep those things on the shelf. Like it was crazy how many people were just coming in and I wanted one really bad. And my wife, it was our 1-year anniversary and she got one for me. She got a hold of one of my colleagues and was like, is it possible to call me when one comes in? And then she was able to get me one. And so at 1-year anniversary, that was her gift to me. And I was like, this is the coolest, right? So we still have it. I still have the Wii. Like, it's awesome. So
I also got my Wii back when it was almost impossible to find them at a Best Buy. My mom and I were out, I guess, doing Christmas shopping, and we ran to the Best Buy just to be like, oh, well, who knows? Maybe they have like the Wii. And we got there just as their shipment arrived, and they limited you one per person. So we each got one because we also got one for, I guess that one was for my neighbor, I think. We were like, hey, do you need a Wii for like your kids for Christmas? Because there's 2 of us here. There's limit 1 per person. So we ended up doing that. I would say that another one was and I know I'm giving you 8 answers to the same question. It's supposed to be an icebreaker, not a full podcast episode. But the announcement of Wind Waker originally really shocked the crap out of me because, they were coming off the success of Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. And, those both had the graphics that they did. They were both, pretty dark in their own way. And then they showed that tech demo at Space World. And it was like basically what eventually would be the visuals of Twilight Princess many years later. I mean, it was kind of like Ocarina of Time, but with Twilight Princess's like graphical fidelity. And I was like, oh, well, that's obviously the direction they're going with Zelda next. And then they revealed Wind Waker, and I was just like, what? And I was like, I was in high school, so I thought I was too cool to play Wind Waker because like I tried it. I rented it from like the local video store. And I just couldn't get past the graphics as like a 16-year-old or whatever I was. And, that was something that I corrected later on in life when I went back and played it. But at first that was like a real shock to me. And I mean, it was for a lot of people on the internet back then because like there was such backlash that they ended up doing Twilight Princess a few years later.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's funny. See, and I will say this, like, during that time I actually wasn't into the Nintendo all that much. Like I didn't have a GameCube. I did have my Wii was one of the originals, so could play GameCube games. So since then I have played Wind Waker and I own it now because I can play it on the Wii. And now I can play it on the Switch. I actually was I was a poor college student, so I didn't have a lot of money. So I was like, do I go with GameCube or do I go with the PlayStation side of things? So I went PlayStation side of things at that time, So I kind of missed out on a lot of Nintendo games during that time. So
yeah, the PS2 was my go-to that era as well. I think it was for most people. I mean, it's the highest selling home console ever for a reason. Most people just got it for the DVD player, but there were a lot of great games for it as well.
That's the reason I got too. I was just like, well, the GameCube can't play DVDs.
No.
Like, I guess I'm gonna go with Sony again. Cause like so it wasn't until the Wii that I was like, oh, like I'm, I mean, it's only one generation next, but I was just like, oh, this is cool. Like I fell in love with Nintendo again with that. So, I'll say one other one that it surprised me, and this is fairly recent, and that's their app that they have. That they now push all their news and all their information out to this app. Like, I just think that's such a unique way of controlling their messaging too. And it's like, I'm surprised maybe we'll start seeing other people doing that. But I don't know if you've downloaded the app, but I actually did download the app, and it has a calendar and it has all my other things in the calendar. It like pulls from my Google Calendar, and I'm like, this is actually kind of cool. Yeah.
I'm bringing it up right now to see what today's breaking news is. Let's see.
Probably nothing.
Oh, well, there's a breaking news story about the charge. Oh, no, I don't want to play a video. About a charging Chuck racket in Mario Tennis Fever.
Oh, yeah. Like, real riveting stuff.
Glad that's taking up space on my phone. I just wish they eventually do, but like that Pikmin animated short that they put out, they didn't put that on YouTube for like 2 weeks. And it was like the only way to watch it, like the regular version with the Pikmin plugged in, was on this app. And like, I wish they would put it on the Switch home screen, because that would make so much sense. Because I don't want to watch videos and like animated shorts on my phone as much as I can help it. I want to watch it up on a big screen.
And
if they're going to do that, then like, why not just put it on the Switch? If you want something proprietary, it doesn't get much more proprietary than an app on a device that you designed.
Yeah, it's sometimes decisions are a little strange. And that one was kind of still a head scratcher of like, I mean, there's some cool things I do like about it. Don't get me wrong. I'm like, okay, this is kind of neat. They pop up like Nintendo Power just the cover. I wish that they had like more than just the cover, but I'm like, oh, I remember this episode or this issue.
Yeah.
But yeah, then there's also some like, why is it just is the only way I can watch this video? Like, that's just strange. Like,
have they fixed the fact that you can't screen cap out of it? Like, there's no way to do a screenshot?
Well, I don't know.
Let's see.
I haven't tried that. Probably not. I mean, I could imagine them not. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, my internet is giving me problems, so we're not going to find that answer today. Oh wait, I'm loading it. Okay, I could screenshot the text, but I don't know. This is riveting for your listeners. I'm sorry. Okay, you can screenshot now. I think they've changed that because I just screenshotted the E for everyone on the Mario Tennis Fever. Okay. Glad we found that answer that everybody was dying to know.
Yeah. Well, I did want to bring you on the show because a couple weeks ago I had Jill Grote, the Indie Informer, on and talk about indie games that are coming out in 2026. And I thought, I want to do the same kind of thing around Nintendo of 2026. And what better person than Brian Shea to come on the show and talk about what you're most excited for in Nintendo and get your thoughts on it. So I have a list of questions here that I would like to ask you, and we can go through them. But the first question that I have here for you, of the games that we know so far, what are you most excited about that's coming out this year?
Man, so I keep forgetting about a lot of games, so I'm bringing up a list here. But there's a lot of, like, I think underappreciated games that I'm really excited for. I mean, Pokemon Pokopia is one of the ones at the top of my list. I think that game looks like it has the potential to just steal hundreds of hours away from me. I mean, I love Animal Crossing. I haven't really played it in like 4 years at this point, but like I really enjoy Animal Crossing. I really enjoy Dragon Quest Builders, which this looks like it borrows a lot from.
Yeah.
And of course, Pokemon's one of my favorite franchises, so super excited for that. I do have a good deal of optimism for Mario Tennis Fever. I think that the Mario sports games are extremely hit or miss. I think that Mario Tennis Aces was actually pretty good. Mario Golf Super Rush, I would say, was half good, half bad. The golf itself was fine, but like the story mode was terrible. And then something like Super Mario Strikers Battle League. Yeah, I think that's what the last one was. That was just outright not very good. Yeah. So, I think that there's Mario Tennis Aces is probably the best, like, most recent one. And so the fact that they're seemingly evolving that with like a more involved story mode and like new gimmicks that can also be switched off, which is a huge thing, I think, because like a lot of times they just shoehorn gimmicks in. You're like, oh, this game would be so good if you didn't have to do this stupid gimmick all the time. So I do have optimism for Mario Tennis Fever. I haven't had a chance to play it yet, but looking forward to that. I know a lot of people are excited for Resident Evil Requiem. I'm not the biggest Resident Evil fan, but this one looks really good.
Yeah.
I mean, the upgrade for Super Mario Brothers Wonder, I'm intrigued by. I don't know what other stuff is going to be there. I would like more single-player content in there rather than, like, the kind of multiplayer-focused stuff that they've shown off so far.
Yeah.
Oh, and this isn't coming to Nintendo, but one that I'm very excited for is Invincible Versus. It's a fighting game set in the Invincible universe, which is a comic from Skybound, but also an animated series on Amazon Prime Video, and I love that show. So I'm very excited about that. I'm very excited for Saros, which comes out that same day allegedly. So very excited for that. Forza Horizon 5 is my favorite racing game of all time, so of course I'm excited about Forza Horizon 6. I have a lot of love for Mexico. I'm engaged to a Mexican woman, but Japan is my favorite place on the planet, so I'm very, very excited that Forza Horizon 6 is going to Japan.
Yeah.
Also, I just wrote the cover story for 007 First Light, which is also coming to Switch 2, which I think a lot of people are sleeping on the fact that it's coming to Switch 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, 007 First Light is looking and sounding incredible. And, it's been 14 years since we've had a James Bond game. We're coming up on 14 years this year. So the fact that we're getting a new one, and it's done by such a quality studio with a pedigree through the Hitman franchise to like really deliver on a lot of the stuff that a James Bond game should deliver on. That's really, really promising. And talking to the devs for a full day out in Copenhagen, they really seem like they get it. So I'm excited for that as well. One that I didn't expect to be super excited about, but I am really excited about, is Lego Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight.
Yeah.
The fact, like, I was so over Lego games. And then the Skywalker saga came out, and it was like, oh, they're changing the formula on a lot of this stuff. And it was really fun. And, like, the graphics look amazing. They don't look like they're stuck in the Xbox 360 era anymore. And Lego Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight, but the fact that it pulls from all these different eras of Batman and like recreate scenes. So like we'll have like Adam West Batman and Heath Ledger Joker and like Arnold Schwarzenegger Mr. Freeze. Like it's so cool that we're getting all those different eras of Batman kind of thrown into what I'm assuming is going to be one cohesive story, which makes it like super compelling to me because I'm a huge Batman fan, even though I haven't liked a lot of the Batman and Batman adjacent video games since the Arkham series kind of wrapped up. But I'm very excited for Legacy of the Dark Knight. It'll be fun to see like how they pull from that. It's going to have that same thrill as I think that like a lot of Marvel movies have gotten, where it's like, even if it's not a great movie, you go there and you're like, okay, who's going to show up? What's going to be the cameo? What's going to be the thing that sets the stage for the next thing? So it's going to be a little bit of like cameo excitement, but hopefully it ends up being a really good game as well. And there's the obvious choices like Grand Theft Auto and Fire Emblem. What is it called? The one this year? Fortune's Weave.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot that we don't know. But those are the ones that like we do know that I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah. You mentioned the 007 game, and it's funny because I think of this game and I'm like, I'm surprised this game is coming to the Switch, and it's a Switch 2, but just because of, you think of like games like on PC or Xbox or PlayStation is going to just play better than the Switch 2. Although Switch 2, I mean, there's a lot of, I'm surprised on Cyberpunk 2026 or
2077,
2026. Oh my God. So it's potential there, but then I always forget, like, the classic 007 games like GoldenEye were on Nintendo system. So it makes sense for them to be on Nintendo. First of all, I was in Copenhagen last year as well.
Nice.
For my wife and I's 20th anniversary, we had a stop over in Copenhagen. We actually spent it in Italy, but we spent a couple days in Copenhagen.
I think that beats out the Wii.
What does?
A European vacation to celebrate your anniversary. No offense to the Wii, which you said you got on your first anniversary.
Yeah.
I think that the European vacation might be a little bit more memorable. But who am I to say?
Yeah, listen. I would say our income has also increased since the first anniversary.
That'll do it
versus
as well.
our better place financially than we were when we first married.
That's a good thing. 19 years later, hopefully you're in a better place.
Yeah, that's what you always hope, right? But you never know. But so do you, Mike? Okay, I'm just gonna maybe you can shed some light on this. Maybe you can't. I don't know. But like one of the things I was thinking of is with 007 is Hitman games. You're a hitman. You're kind of not a great person. I wouldn't say like you're a bad person, but you're not a great person. I mean, I guess 007 is, he's got a license to kill. right? Like,
well, not in this game. In this game, it's all about earning the license to kill.
Okay.
So basically, it's an origin story. So it's starring like a younger James Bond, and they got Patrick Gibson, who played Dexter in Dexter Original Sin. It was a prequel series. And so they got him to play this younger version of James Bond, and the opening scene is going to be something called the Iceland incident, where something happens. Inspiration was drawn from the cover, or they drew inspiration from the Iceland incident for the cover image, which shows a helicopter crash of some sort into the water and Bond emerging from it. So that's all I know about the Iceland incident. That's how like the game opens, and something about that incident catches the eye of M over at MI6, which is like, British Secret Service, and they recruit Bond, and they say, hey, come to our Malta training facility. So they whisk him away to that, where other 00 recruits have been training for 6 months already. So he has to play catch up with these people who are also considered like the best of the best in terms of like young talent. So Bond has to play catch up there. And then I got to see kind of like the first mission play out in a different way than what they've shown.
Okay.
And basically the way they get around the license to kill stuff is if somebody threatens you with a weapon, you can return in kind. So like you're not supposed to shoot anybody throughout the entire mission. He has to infiltrate this giant hotel and then try to tail somebody, and then he finds intel from talking to people, and then something happens and he's in a car chase. So he's chasing his target through the streets of Slovakia, and the guy ditches his car and goes to an airfield where he's going to escape, and Bond runs after him on foot. And as soon as he drops down and somebody at the airfield spots him, they pull their gun on him. And as soon as they pull their gun on him, the words "license to kill" flash across the top. So he has his temporary license to kill because somebody threatened his life. So he gets the license to kill in self-defense in that moment. So that's how they're handling that.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it seems like they're really nailing a lot of like the core tenets of like, all right, Bond has to be able to blend in if he needs to. He has to be able to charm his way through a conversation. He has to be able to be like a really great driver, a marksman, somebody who can shoot somebody and like improvise in like the heat of battle or the heat of a chase or the heat of like just like a crazy action scene unfolding around him.
Yeah.
And we see that at the end of like the demo where, he boards a plane that was in the middle of taking off. He hacks the control terminal from the back of the plane and starts basically tilting it left and right, causing as much turbulence as possible. And then when too much turbulence happens and everybody ditches the plane, he also jumps out, but without a parachute. And he just catches up to another person who was skydiving to evacuate and hitches a ride on their parachute. So like, it's very cinematic. Hitman was very, kind of like sandbox driven, right? Where you're dumped into this thing, you're told who your target is, and then your job is to just go and take that target out, preferably without being spotted, preferably without them being able to trace it back to you, and in an ideal world, not even being seen. So, it's kind of borrowing a little bit from that because there's going to be sandbox areas where it's like, the sandbox area I saw was like, all right, you've got to figure out a way to get into this hotel. And like in one case, we saw him like go and there was a lighter sitting over that a guy was using to smoke, like a security guard. So he was on a smoke break, and Bond has a bunch of gadgets. And one of the gadgets he has, his phone actually has a dart like projectile thing where he can shoot a dart and whoever it hits actually starts feeling nauseous. So he hit him with the dart, and the guy who was smoking kind of walked over into the corner and started, throwing up. And while he was doing that, Bond grabbed his lighter. Then Bond goes over to this bale of hay, catches it on fire, just like real sneakily, and that distracted the guard that was over by the window he was wanting to climb in. So it's like you can do that, or in the behind closed doors demo that I saw at the studio, it was like, all right, well, you don't want to go the other way. So you eavesdrop on like a member of the press that's like waiting to go in. And she mentioned something about a whistleblower having like a press pass that somebody got for them. And they stashed it in a flower pot in the courtyard. So when you hear that, all the flower pots in the courtyard are highlighted because that is intel that Bond now has at the top of his mind. So you don't have to go flipping through menus or any kind of like, journal or anything like that. It is just, you can go and investigate the flower pots and you find a press badge. Cool. You walk right in, you flash the badge to security. They throw you through a metal detector and they said, all right, go for it.
Wow.
So like there's different ways to get through it. And, using Bond's personality is another way because like the way that I talked with IO Interactive was like, all right, well, how do you find a younger James Bond? Like, what does that even look like? Like, what does that process go like make you like, what route did that process take you down? And they're basically like, yeah, we came on to the conclusion that Bond is somebody who is defined by his experiences and he knows what to do in every situation because he's seen and been in every situation. Excuse me. And so, they're like, well, what is that without the experience? Like, what do you do if you strip away that experience from a guy who that's his defining trait? Yeah. And what they came to was like, all right, well, he would still have a lot of these like core traits to him. Like he would still be extremely bold. He would still have all this charm. He would still have like a little bit of coldness to him, but not nearly as much as he would as like a more experienced Bond who's been in every situation. And he would, he would be willing to take a lot of risks, but they would be motivated in different ways. So like, he would be taking risks not because he's been in that situation before, but because like in his kind of naive heart, like it's, yeah, well, that's the way you catch the bad guys. You jump out of the plane without a parachute, and then eventually you'll figure it out. Yeah. Whereas like an older James Bond would be like, oh yeah, I'll jump out of the plane, I'll grab the guy's parachute, and I'll follow the guy that way. So it's kind of like different in the motivation side, but also like, he has all this charm, but the way they say is like, yeah, he still possesses that charm, but he hasn't weaponized it. So he doesn't know like exactly how to use his charm to get exactly what he wants. So
interesting.
You'll see him become the James Bond that we've seen on the silver screen more and more the longer you play the game, it seems like.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm excited for this game. I mean,
yeah, me too.
I'm a huge James Bond fan, so yeah, I'm very excited for this game. So
yeah, I was impressed with what I saw and what I heard from the developers. So yeah, very much looking forward to that.
Nice. I think I know the answer to this next question that I have here for you, Brian, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Which Nintendo franchise needs a new release in 2026?
I have an answer, but I want to know what you think I'm going to say.
I'm going to say Mario, a 3D Mario game.
Yeah, that's the obvious answer.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Star Fox. Come on, it's time.
Oh, yeah.
But yes, Mario, obviously. I mean, also Zelda, like not like maybe a full 3D Zelda, but like a remake of some sort to celebrate the 40th anniversary.
Yeah.
Like that's
maybe they'll have a Zelda Maker. Maybe they'll have a Zelda Maker this year.
I mean, Eiji Aonuma, I think jokingly told us that they were already working on a Zelda Maker back when we did the Breath of the Wild Rapid Fire. Ben Reeves hosted that, I think. And he asked, like, would you ever do a Zelda Maker? And Eiji Aonuma said, yes, we're already working on it. But who knows if he's joking or not? Because it's been, 9 years since that Rapid Fire happened.
Well, they're waiting for this year because, 40
I
years.
mean, maybe, because I think Mario Maker on Wii U was for the 30th anniversary of Mario.
Oh, yeah. Maybe.
That'd
be pretty cool.
I wrote a big, like, retrospective, and, like, part of that was getting access to the Mario Maker developers because they were doing, like, the press round. So, I talked to Takashi Tezuka, and I talked to a couple of other developers who have been involved with Mario. This was back in 2015. And I mean, it was really cool, but like, yeah, Mario Maker was coming out around that time, and I was like, oh yeah, I guess that is a cool like anniversary thing. So I would not be surprised if like they were going to do like something out of the box with or outside the box with Zelda's anniversary.
That'd be cool. Did you play the Starlink Battle for Atlas, the Nintendo version with the Star Fox
stuff? No,
yeah.
I started it on PlayStation because I think I got it on clearance as well. And I used to be like a shark when it came to like finding games on like good deals. Like I was on Cheap Ass Gamer all the time finding deals, and people would be like, "Yeah, if you go to Sears, you can get Starlink for like $7.53." And I'd be like, "Okay." So I got that, and then I was like, I don't know, it didn't really do much for me. And then like I saw there was a Star Fox version on Switch, and I was like, or Wii U or whatever was out that time, and I was like, well, crap! Like I wanted to play that version. So I did actually find it, and then I don't think I ever fired it up.
Oh, okay. So I have the R-Wing.
Yeah, that was the thing I really wanted was the R-Wing, because that was cool as heck.
Yeah. So I mean, and I will say, like, which is this might be the only game that I've ever seen where it actually has. Well, I'm sure there are other games, but the only one that I can think of that it's like just content just for that system. The fact that McCloud or Fox McCloud is in there. Fox McCloud? Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like it's been such a long time since I played any Star Fox games.
It's been a long time since anybody's played a Star Fox game, unless you fire up the N64 version on Switch Online.
That's right. It's cool though. It's cool because like it plays pretty well, and flying around is in the R-Wing, and that's kind of neat. But that's the closest. I'm like, this is the closest we're going to get to a Star Fox game. This is it.
And then, I mean, we got Star Fox Zero, but like, we don't like to talk about that one.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get something. I don't know. I mean, I never thought we'd see more Pikmin games.
I never thought we'd see Tomodachi Life again. Like, and I love Tomodachi Life. Like that's one I didn't mention actually is Tomodachi Life Living the Dream. Like Tomodachi Life on 3DS is a top 5 3DS game for me. Yeah. So I am super excited for the zaniness of Tomodachi Life Living the Dream.
So it's funny that you say that because this weekend I was at a friend's house, his daughter's birthday, and our kids are around the same age, and so they were playing, and I said, "Have you heard about this game?" And he had his Switch hooked up, so we put it on the TV and we watched the direct for that. And both my wife and his wife and him were all like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "I don't know. This is pretty crazy, but kind of cool."
It's so much fun. It is just unadulterated fun game. Like it takes all the zaniness of like the Mii's and like adds it to like the Animal Crossing kind of formula. Like I don't know. It's just it's weird how Nintendo, two of their biggest like releases in the first half of this year are like cozy games.
Yeah.
And then we have stuff like Fire Emblem and I don't know what else is coming later this year for Nintendo. We just ran down the list. But there's some hardcore games coming. I'm assuming we're going to learn a lot more, and that's the trick with like all these like what's coming out in 2026, cuz like for movies, we hear about these what's coming out like years in advance. Like we've known Avengers Doomsday is coming out in 2026 for like 2 years now.
Yeah.
And we've known, I guess we've known Grand Theft Auto 6 is coming out for 5 years at this point or whatever it is.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, it's weird though. It's interesting that you say that because like for me, for movies, it doesn't really bother me as much. I'm like, okay, yeah, I got 2 years, whatever. But for games, like anything that's like more than 12 months, I don't know if I want to hear about. I'm just like, let me know when it gets a little bit closer. Like more than 12 months out, I'm just like, I don't care.
I largely agree with you there. As a gamer, I agree with you more than as a media member.
Yeah.
Because as a media member, I want as many opportunities to cover a game in the lead up to launch as possible. And with the promotional cycles becoming shorter and shorter, it gives us less opportunities to do cool stuff with those games.
Yeah.
But yes, as a gamer, 100%. I'm still like, we heard about Elder Scrolls 6 in 2018, and we're still waiting for like actual real concrete news about it. And like that type of stuff, I'm happy we've largely left that in the past. But also like that was I think an overcorrection on the parts of developers and publishers, because games used to take like a lot less time to develop. Like back in the 90s, they would announce a game pretty much as soon as it went into like actual production, but games only took like a year and a half to make often back then. Now games can take like 8 or 9 years to make a huge game like the Elder Scrolls. So like I think that what we've seen is like a realization that, announcing a game that early, unless you're doing it purely for like recruiting in terms of like getting new employees that are like specialized in like a new type of genre that like your studio is not known for. Like if somebody like a single player studio like Naughty Dog wanted to make a multiplayer game, they'd probably want to announce that multiplayer game like they did with The Last of Us multiplayer, to try to recruit more multiplayer developers very early on. But then we see that a lot of those projects end up being canceled, and then it kind of blows up in their faces. And I think that is a reason. That's another reason, in addition to the fact that games just take so freaking long to make these days, that we've seen such a kind of pumping of the brakes in terms of like announcing a game as early as they used to.
Yeah. I would love to see another Mario game this year. I mean, it seems like we should get another Mario here soon, especially since we've got another Zelda game since we had a 3D Mario game. Like, it seems I understand we got the Donkey Kong game, and I'm actually really happy we got the Donkey. I'm a huge Donkey Kong fan, so but it'd be nice to see another 3D Mario game for sure this year. And something for Zelda. I think that'd be awesome if they did something for the Zelda anniversary. They'll do something. I'm just worried that it's going to be something like, we have a, Tetris 99 level for Zelda or something like that.
Don't want that.
I hope they do more of that. Yeah, I don't want that. I want something more than that. So, what about third-party partnerships? What would you like to see on Nintendo this year?
I mean, the obvious ones for me at this point are Baldur's Gate 3, Expedition 33, and Metaphor ReFantazio.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, those are the three obvious ones. Now that the Switch 2 is out, presumably it would be able to handle those. Baldur's Gate 3 may be questionable, but I feel like Clair Obscur, Expedition 33, and Metaphor ReFantazio could probably pretty easily run on the Switch 2. Baldur's Gate, I know that they had to kind of dumb down the features a little bit for the Xbox Series S. So, I mean, they could potentially do it that route where it's only 2-player co-op instead of 4-player like it is on Series S. But, I think that those are games that people have been wanting on the Switch 2 for a long time, and they all would really lend themselves well to that portable form factor. I'm trying to think of anything else that really pops up that's realistic. I did have a category because like that's the thing is like a lot of them are just like completely unrealistic. Let's see here. I did have a category for this in All Things Nintendo for like what do we want. I don't think I have it. No, I do. Okay, so let's see, what were my nominees for like most wanted third-party games on Switch? Oh, well, Dispatch actually ended up coming to Switch, which ended up being kind of a controversy because it's censored and you can't turn that off. But like more Yakuza games.
Thing. Oh yeah. Well, isn't there a Yakuza game coming out here soon, right?
Yakuza 0 is on Switch 2. I think that Kiwami 1 is on Switch 2. Is Kiwami 2? I don't know, but I know Kiwami 3 is coming out in a couple weeks here. But those are all games that I think would be great on the Switch. If we're talking like collaborations, like kind of like Mario plus Rabbids or Cadence of Hyrule, where it's like another developer taking on, I would like to see Playtonic make a Donkey Kong Country game. So Playtonic is a studio comprised of a lot of ex-Rare developers, particularly ones that were involved with like the original Donkey Kong Country games. And they make the Yooka-Laylee games, including Yooka-Laylee in the Impossible Lair, which is basically just a Donkey Kong Country game without Donkey Kong and Diddy. So I would love it if they had a chance to make another 2D platformer, which, by the way, check out Yooka-Laylee in the Impossible Lair, 2D platformer that very much is in the style of Donkey Kong Country from a lot of the people who made Donkey Kong Country. So highly recommend that whenever I have a chance. But yeah, give them a Donkey Kong Country game to make. There was also the talks. I know that they kind of disbanded this group and Ubisoft is in kind of dire straits, but I know that the Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown team said they would love to remake Zelda 2, and I think that would have been an incredible way to celebrate the 40th anniversary, is kind of modernizing and making one of the black sheep of the Zelda franchise much more approachable and a better game. I think that would be cool, but you know, what do I know?
Yeah. That. Yeah. I can't imagine. I mean, again, Ubisoft is kind of, who knows what's going on there, but I can't imagine not having another Mario and Rabbids game, because like they seem really popular. And the second one I really enjoyed.
Unfortunately, the director left Ubisoft.
Oh, really?
He was kind of the driving force behind that. Yeah, I think he left to a different studio.
Okay.
And from what I understand, Sparks of Hope, that's the second one, right?
Yeah.
It didn't sell particularly well.
Really?
I think it fell pretty well short of expectations. So it seems like they probably aren't going to do another one.
Oh, wow.
At least now. I mean, who knows in the future? But like, it seems like they have kind of like been like, oh, okay, yeah, it was a cool novelty and like sold well on Switch 1, and then you know, the second one didn't seem to really hit the expectations they were hoping for.
Interesting. Yeah, I always thought that could have been a Switch 2 release, and maybe it should have been a Switch 2 release. Like, I think it would have probably done a lot better if it was a Switch 2 exclusive release, maybe. But
yeah,
what do I know?
They, you know, they really could have used, I think, one more Switch 2 game in 2025. I think it was an extraordinarily strong year. Don't get me wrong there. I think that like Mario Kart World has shortcomings, but I think it's a solid Mario Kart game. Donkey Kong Bonanza is so much fun. Metroid Prime 4 is, you know, at long last, it's finally out, and I am higher on it than I think a lot of people are. I still acknowledge it has plenty of faults, but I do like Metroid Prime 4 quite a bit. I think it's probably there's not very many Metroid Prime games, but it's probably my second favorite Metroid Prime game. And I didn't play 3, so I did play Federation Force, and I did play.
I did too.
I played a good chunk of 2. So, like, yeah, I think it's pretty easily the second best, having not played 3 in that series.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's all kinds of, like, other big games that came out on Switch, like Hades 2 and Hollow Knight Silk Song and games like that really are excellent examples of, you know, games from not Nintendo becoming pretty well associated with Nintendo, a Nintendo system. Because, you know, Hades 2 is only on PC and Switch 2 at this point, or I guess Switch 1 as well, but only PC and Nintendo right now. So that is, for all intents and purposes, a console exclusive. So you can really count that towards Nintendo's 2025. So they really did have a good year. I think that they could have maybe not rivaled their 2017 when they got both a 3D Mario game and a 3D Zelda game, and those were ended up being two of the best in their respective franchises. But I think they could have come a lot closer if they just had something like, you know, kind of middle of the road, like a Mario plus Rabbids game or something of that nature.
Yeah. I feel like 2017, the fact that they had both of those games, it felt like they had to do that though too, because the Switch was so like different and unique, right?
It was such a response to the failure of the Wii U as well.
Yes, exactly, right? So it's like we have to do something to really like get out there and say like, no, we're behind this. And then I feel like the Switch 2, while I love the Switch 2, and I mean my kids love the fact that I have Switch 2 because they have my Switch 1. You know, I don't know. Like, there's a lot of people I know that I'm like, there's no reason for me to buy a Switch 2 at this point yet. So, and I mean, I don't know if they're entirely wrong. Like, I mean, it's their money, so of course they're entitled to whatever. Like, yeah, I get it. It's your money. Like, but it's just like, yeah, maybe there isn't really selling points yet for the Switch 2 to convince a lot of people.
I mean, it's doing fine, you know, like it
is doing fine.
It's I think the fastest selling console of all time at this
Yeah.
point. Like
Yeah.
through its first year almost. Like, it's still selling really well. I'm sure it's slowed down a little bit since the launch window. Like I think I can go into a store and see the Switch 2 sitting on the shelf. I've
Yes.
bought a Switch 2 for a friend and, just walked into a store and went to the electronics department and said, oh, there's a
Yeah.
Switch 2 here. Texted them, hey, do you want me to pick this up for you? Yeah, please do. And then, and that was like 4 months ago. So,
Yeah.
I think that it's still selling really well. And I think that a lot of people still have ample reason. I think Mario Kart World was actually a smart choice for them to launch the Switch 2 with, just because Mario Kart is such an enormous franchise. I think that they could have done with just a little bit more content in there, and that would have maybe given better word of mouth. But, like I said, it's doing just fine.
Yeah. What's interesting too is like last time I was in a store, the original Switch has gone up in price.
Oh, yeah.
So that's just, it's weird times like with that. And I mean, presumably I'm assuming that has a lot to do with the tariffs and things that are going on, but yeah, I guess that kind of leads into my second to last question here. What would be some of the biggest missteps Nintendo could make this year?
I think relying too much on niche titles. So, we got Mario Kart, Donkey Kong, and Metroid as like the big three last year. This year, what we have so far, I guess Pokemon Pokopia, which, is a Pokemon game in name and like in execution from what it looks like, but it's also very much like kind of like a spin-off, more niche genre.
Yeah.
What are the other big games we know about? Tomodachi Life, Rhythm Heaven. The big one in the fall is going to be Fire Emblem, which, has made huge strides over the last decade, but it's still not an A or S tier Nintendo franchise in terms of mainstream appeal.
Yeah.
That said, we're almost certainly going to get Gen 10 for Pokemon this year. This is, speaking of anniversaries, this is the 30th anniversary of Pokemon this year.
Wow.
So I have a feeling they're going to pull out all the stops, and I think that a lot of Pokemon stuff is going to fill out that Nintendo calendar come the end of this month when they have Pokemon Day on the 27th. And so I think that we are going to get some stuff in way of that, or by way of that, and that's going to obviously be a pretty mainstream announcement whenever they announce like the next mainline Pokemon RPG. But that said, I think that the calendar as it exists now, and of course Nintendo is probably going to have a direct like in the next few weeks, if I had to guess, which is going to tell us what the rest of like the next, I would say 5 or 6 months is going to look like. And then probably another one in June or July to tell us what the second half of 2026 is going to look like. But for now, outside of the looming like Pokemon Gen 10 game that is almost certainly going to be announced on February 27th, like it's a lot of like lower profile stuff. Like the highest profile stuff in terms of like name recognition right now is Super Mario Brothers Wonders DLC and Animal Crossing Switch 2 update, which, Animal Crossing Switch 2 update is a $5 upgrade. And the Mario Wonder thing, I think, is $20. So it's like they're not going to buoy their entire financial year on those two games. But like, there's a lot of year ahead of us. And like I said, there's a Zelda anniversary, there's the Pokemon anniversary. I would be surprised if we don't see like some big announcements out of those. And then, of course, there's at least 2, if not 3, like main Nintendo Directs, like not partner showcases, not indie world presentations, like main first-party Nintendo Directs. We probably still have 2 or 3 of them to look forward to this year, and those always come with a whole host of announcements. So I think that we're going to be just fine, but we're also, as it stands now, it's a lot of niche titles. But then again, there's the Super Mario Galaxy movie, which is going to make $1 billion. So, I guess they'll be fine no matter what.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like in April, when that movie comes out, I would guess they'd do something special for some kind of something for the games as well. I mean, they just released 1 and 2.
Yeah, and the
Galaxy.
Mario Wonder DLC is a week before that.
Yeah.
So maybe they'll do some sort of announcement or something. I don't know.
Tetris 99 level, probably.
Bring back Mario 35 and this time make it Mario 40.
Yeah, right? Like, come
Mario
on.
41.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I just hope that there's bigger surprises than, and there will be, but I mean, just, yeah.
Yoshi as well. Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, which coincides with Mario Galaxy as well.
That's
because,
right. That's right.
You know, Yoshi is appearing in Mario Galaxy movie.
Yeah. I will say this real quick about that. That was a weird direct, by the way. A Sunday morning. I did wake up to watch it, and I was like, oh, that's what it was? Just to say, hey, Yoshi's in the movie. Well, yeah, I kind of figured as much. I mean,
yeah, if you saw the post-credit teaser of the first movie, yeah.
Yeah, it was really funny.
Yeah, I watched that after the fact. I did not wake up to watch it. I woke up, I went to the gym, I came back, and then I was like, oh yeah, there was a Nintendo Direct today. Let me catch up on that. And then I saw it was like 5 minutes, and I'm like, oh, this was a nothing burger.
Yeah, for me it was, well, the kids are up. I might as well be up. Hey, the Direct is up. Okay, I can go back to bed now. That was cool.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I do think that the movie looks very good, and I'm extremely excited to see it. I hope that I get to take part in like the interviews and like pre-release screenings the way I did with the Mario Brothers movie. So looking forward to hopefully taking part in that. I don't have any like green light or like any kind of invitation to take part in that stuff, but I feel like that's going to be coming up here in like the next month or so. To start getting those gears turning, and you know, hopefully I'll be lucky enough to take part in those again.
Yeah, because you did quite a few interviews for the last movie, right?
Yeah, so I had 8 minutes with Seth Rogen, and he was done with that interview after the first minute. And then I had 4 minutes with Chris Pratt and Charlie Day, which they were super fun together.
Yeah.
And then I had 30 minutes with the directors, and that was only on my podcast. So like they were all on my podcast, but you know, it was the directors being on for 30 minutes was incredible. Like that was super cool to be able to just talk with them and pick their brains about like the movie. Because this was the day after I saw the movie, about a week before the movie came out. Like, you know, they flew us out to LA to attend a screening in Hollywood, and then I did the interviews. And then they were like, oh, yeah, and come to the premiere as well. And I was like, oh, okay. Then I'm already staying out in L.A. for another couple of days. So I was visiting, I was doing a Star Wars Jedi Survivor event out there as well. And then I also got a ticket to Universal Studios so I could see how the California Nintendo world compares to the Osaka Nintendo world. Spoiler alert, it doesn't really compare to the Osaka location because the California one is so crunched in. It's such a small space. And the Osaka one and from what I hear, the Florida ones are just sprawling and they're so much better. So California doesn't have the Yoshi ride, and California doesn't have multiple levels. It's just all one flat area, which really gets rid of some of the illusion of it being like a self-contained world. Whereas Osaka and from what I hear, Florida has like the multiple tiers. They also have the Donkey Kong Country expansion. So yeah, I mean, it just by virtue of California not having that much space, you know, I'm going off on all kinds of tangents.
That's
things
awesome.
that happened 3 years ago. But then anyway, Nintendo was like, oh, do you want to come to the premiere? And then the next morning interview Shigeru Miyamoto and Koji Kondo. And I was like, I guess I'm changing my flight and booking an extra night in my hotel because like not missing that.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know, one thing I'll just say with the casting, you know, a lot of people were concerned with Chris Pratt playing Mario, but I wasn't as concerned just because, listen, we had Captain Lou Albino play Mario. We had Peter Cullen play Mario in the past, right? Like, so there's been other people that have played Mario, and I thought he did really, really a pretty good job playing Mario. I was actually pretty impressed with how he played Mario. So
yeah, I think in my review I said, like, you know, for the first like 10 or 15 minutes, it was hard to hear it as anything other than that's Chris Pratt. But then after that, it was like, no, that's just Mario.
Yeah.
Like eventually, like it faded into like, okay, this is just what Mario sounds like in this like cinematic universe.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing for Luigi. Like, Luigi has a much deeper voice in the games than Charlie Day's kind of like frantic, like screaming, like high pitched voice. And, I think the closest one has to be like Bowser and Donkey Kong. I think that Seth Rogen and Jack Black were fantastic castings for those because they can just talk like they normally do and they fit the characters. I mean, I know people like get on me when I say that Seth Rogen was a great casting for Donkey Kong. It's like the dude just talks and he sounds like Donkey Kong.
It's true. What do you think? I don't want to keep you too much longer. We're a little past the hour, so I'm gonna make this my last question here, Brian. What do you think will be the biggest headlines in 2026 for Nintendo?
Oh, that's always tricky. I always say it on All Things Nintendo, but like trying to predict Nintendo is just an absolute fool's errand because they are just so unpredictable. They're probably the most unpredictable like major gaming company out there. Yeah. I think they're going to have a very strong second year of the Switch 2. I think that we will get some big announcements. I think that Pokemon Gen 10 is going to be a huge deal. Either it will be, I'm leaning towards it's going to be very good because the last two have been kind of underwhelming for a lot of fans.
Yeah.
So I'm leaning towards them learning their lessons. And I think that they're getting a lot of new blood into this entry in terms of the developers involved, because I know that Junichi Masuda is no longer at Game Freak. He has moved over to the Pokemon Company full time to be in charge of like just kind of overseeing the brand more so than overseeing the day-to-day development operations. Shigeru Omori, who has been kind of like the director that took the place of Masuda when Masuda moved into a producer role, he's been working on Beast of Reincarnation, that multi-platform game from Game Freak.
Yeah.
So I think that a lot of new blood is going to be working on Pokemon Gen 10, whatever it ends up being called. And I think that's going to be a good thing, ultimately. I think that having this younger talent is going to lead to a lot of the things that I think that people have been caught up on in recent entries being addressed, while also probably still having the guidance of people like Omori and Masuda who've been there for, Masuda's been there since the beginning, and Omori, I think, has been there for like 20 plus years at this point. So having them seemingly still involved in some capacity while having like the newer generation kind of ushering in like this 30th anniversary celebration, I think could be pretty special for them. That said, if it's a disappointment, then I think that this is a different conversation. That's 3 kind of lackluster entries, mainline entries in a row for Pokemon. And I think there's going to be a kind of a critical reassessment of the franchise at that point, because that's the 10th generation. And you're telling me that, a solid 30% of them are not up to expectations and they've all been in a row. And it's like, that's a challenging place to be, even for the most popular and successful entertainment franchise of all time. So I think that the success or failure of Pokemon Gen 10 will be one of the biggest headlines out of Nintendo for 2026. I do think that we will either get something Mario or something Zelda, but I'm trying to think of any other predictions that we could throw here. I think there's going to be some niche franchises that are going to perform better than expected. And then I think there's going to be some niche franchises that are going to perform about the same as previous entries. I think Tomodachi Life will probably maybe sell a little bit worse than its predecessor. Its predecessor sold pretty well, actually. The 3DS version, it was the 11th best-selling 3DS game.
Really?
And outsold A Link Between Worlds. It outsold Ocarina of Time 3D. It outsold Majora's Mask 3D.
Wow.
I think it was just behind Smash for 3DS. So like it sold pretty well. Like I think that it was one of those like kind of viral games for a second there where everybody was like posting like screenshots of their game being like, look at this weird stuff that I'm getting into with this game. And then Nintendo, how do they react? They get rid of the ability to share screenshots from the game.
Yeah.
So
what I know. What?
It makes no sense. I understand like the concern that they have, but like I think we're taking it to the extreme with that. yeah, like, I think that it's going to be another solid year, and barring any major announcement, like a 3D Zelda, 2D Zelda, 3D Mario, a sequel to like Mario Wonder, anything like that, I think it's going to be one of those years where we look back and we say, oh, that was a pretty good year. Not like any kind of like tectonic shifts in terms of like major releases or major franchises making a splash, but a very solid year for Nintendo with a few big successes, and one of those probably being Pokemon Gen 10.
Nice. Well, before we head out, why don't you tell people how they can follow you on social media and listen to your podcast as well?
Sure. So you can follow me on Blue Sky or Instagram at Brian P. Shea. You can find my work on Game Informer, GameInformer.com, or you can subscribe to Game Informer and get a print version shipped straight to your house if you live within the U.S. GameInformer.com/subscribe. If you live anywhere outside of the U.S. and you want to get in on the action, you can get a digital copy for cheaper. That gives you access to the full digital edition of the magazine. Or you can go to your local bookstore if you live in many countries. I mean, it's not in every country, but a lot of bigger countries, you can now go to a bookstore and go to the magazine newsstand and find a copy of Game Informer right there on the newsstand. So that's pretty cool.
That's really cool.
And then you can listen to All Things Nintendo wherever you get your podcasts. There's a video version on YouTube and Spotify. And then you can also support me by going to patreon.com and searching All Things Nintendo.
Yeah. Well, Brian, thank you so much for joining us this week. I really appreciate it. And as always, I could have you on for like another hour, but I obviously want to respect your time too. But thank you so much for joining me. It was really fun having you on the show.
Thanks so much for having me. The last hour 9 has flown by, so I appreciate you allowing me to come back on and just ramble for an hour.
I love having you on the show. I'll put all the links into the show notes so that you can follow Brian and you can support him as well and listen to his show. And listeners, you can follow us on Blue Sky as well at GamerheadsPodcast.com. And you can find our stuff at GamerheadsPodcast.com. Where you can hear this podcast and reviews and interviews and other things we do. With that, everyone, stay safe and game on. Talk to you next week. Bye.